I didn't have money at the time. I remember looking at my bank account. I had finally managed to save up $10,000 through barbacking and serving. You can get in all the forums, you can talk to all the people, find all the mentors, but you have to do the thing to actually learn what it's all about. House hacking as being the most powerful vehicle in real estate investing. But frankly, I wasn't confident in my ability to make that payment on a monthly basis.
Welcome back to another Roots podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Max Moore. I'm Tyler Lingle. We are the founders of Roots Realty Co., and we're here to dive deep into real estate in Indianapolis and building wealth. I'm here with Trent Kiester. Trent and I go back to his early days in real estate, which weren't too long ago.
Not too long ago, yeah.
So Trent joined the team in early 2024, so about a year ago, just over a year ago, and he has done over 40 deals as a real estate agent, eclipsing 7.5 million in transaction volume, which for reference puts him in the top 2% probably of new agents, top 1%. Top 0.5% of new agents. Like, he's just dominating the real estate agent scene, focused primarily on investors. But actually, Trent and I go back to before you were an agent. Your agent was me, for better or worse. And we actually met. I remember you were working at Back Nine, a golf course, managing, serving tables, not at all in real estate. And then you called me up and you had a very specific need. You had this little triangle you wanted to buy a home in, and I was like, this guy has done his homework, but like, is that little triangle and that buy box like really the right one? Yeah. I kind of poked and prodded at it, and we got out and saw homes, and you ended up buying a home, which we'll get into that story. But the question I want to start off is, before you had purchased your first investment property, what was the biggest fear in that process? Like, what was the like thing about like, oh, I might go and mess this all up? Like, what was it? What was the fear you had to overcome in that?
Yeah, I'm sure at that time there were quite a few. And I think it all stemmed from a lack of knowledge, I think, at the time. And so being in college, I wasn't necessarily exposed to a lot of the information that I probably needed at the time to be able to do that successfully. And so I think the first hump for me was, number one, deciding that it was something that I was going to do. Not something that I wanted to do or something that I fantasized about doing, but deciding that that was the goal and I was going to accomplish it no matter what it took to get it done, for better or for worse, like you said. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of the first thing. The second thing was getting the information. And I had to find it somewhere. So I think I actually found you through Bigger Pockets. Funny enough, we do a lot of our marketing through Bigger Pockets now. And so I started doing research on there, getting into forums, watching YouTube videos, doing the thing. And that was all super helpful. And what I learned, and we talk to clients about this all the time, which is you can get in all the forums, you can talk to all the people, find all the mentors, but you have to do the thing to actually learn what it's all about, and how to do it the right way. And so I think, beyond trying to learn one specific thing or trying to meet one certain person to try and accomplish a goal, it was more about just doing it. And so that's why I called you that day, because I had taken in all the information that I possibly could, at least all the information that I thought I could possibly take in. And it was like, I just need to go make the move. So let me call Tyler. You were the first person that popped up, like, on the investor agents. So you were the only person that got a phone call. You answered the phone, and you were the guy I went with. So
well, I love that, because you just gave the blueprint, which is surround yourself with other people who are doing it. Like, you started with the right network and the right people around you, which led you to that next step of find a trusted guide, an agent. So surround yourself with the right people, immerse yourself in like the culture of real estate, find the trusted guide, and jump off and trust the process, right? You could have easily sat behind dozens of spreadsheets and YouTube videos and never made a move. And in fact, many of the people we talk to or don't talk to sit behind in that trap of fear. So I love that. What were you kind of break down what your strategy was with that first home? I think this is interesting. A lot of people who are either going to house hack, buy their first investment property. What was your strategy? What did you actually end up doing, and what did you learn? I know it's a big question, but
no, it's a great question. We talk about house hacking as being the most powerful vehicle in real estate investing for both young individuals and super experienced people alike. Anybody can utilize that gateway into real estate. And that's exactly what the plan was. I didn't have money at the time. I remember looking at my bank account. I had finally managed to save up $10,000 through barbacking and serving and managing and doing whatever else I did at Back Nine. But frankly, I wasn't confident in my ability to make that payment on a monthly basis. And it's funny, I remember I called Rocket Mortgage because I tried to like get pre-approved before I talked to you, which was a crazy bad idea. But anyways, I remember being on the phone.
Well, you wouldn't have known. Like, you didn't know the process.
Yeah, no, I know.
Normally the agent refers the mortgage lender.
Right. So anyways, I remember being on the phone with the lady on Rocket Mortgage that night. It was probably like 6 or 7 p.m. I don't know if they like were answering the phones late or whatever. But anyways, she was like, yeah, I can get you pre-approved, but like, are you sure you want to do this? Because like, I'm looking at your financials. I know how much you make. Like, are you sure this is the right thing for you to be doing? And I was like, of course I told her, yes, it's good. I'm fine. But in the back of my mind, I knew I'm like, I have to find a way to rent out some of these bedrooms. And the interesting thing about it was I had to have my dad co-sign on the loan. And when you start digging into FHA and what they allow, if you have a co-signer on an FHA loan, and I don't know if this has changed, so I encourage everybody to go talk to their lender about this. But at that time, I had my dad co-signing. And if you want to buy multifamily with an FHA loan, you absolutely can do that. You can buy up to 4 units. But if you have a co-signer, the co-signer has to live in that house as well if it's more than 1 unit. And so I went into this house hack journey under the assumption that I'd be able to buy a duplex and live in one side and then rent out the other side to, cool if it was a friend, but if it needed to be someone that I didn't know, awesome. I came to find out that I could not do that because my dad was not going to be living in the duplex with me. So I had to buy a single family home, which kind of changed things a little bit because I don't want, a random person living in my house with me. It's not ideal. So anyways, I say all of that to say, I had to buy a single family home. And so the conversation then became, well, who do I rent this bedroom to? And so I remember going back to work and kind of just like sharing with everybody, hey, this is my story. This is what I'm doing. I'm getting ready to buy this house here, and I'm going to be looking for a roommate. And I was, working alongside one of my friends at the time, Evan, who's still a friend to this day. So Evan, if you're watching, thank you for being a part of my journey and helping me. But anyways, Evan was like, Evan was like, yeah, my lease is getting ready to run out. I'm looking for a space to live. Like I'd love to live with you. And so I was able to like kind of make that work. But I should point out that I am very fortunate and very lucky that I was able to do that. Because if I couldn't find somebody to like live in that extra space that I had in the house, I would have been having to make the entirety of that payment alongside the slew of renovations that I chose to do, which we can also talk about because I know it's important. But that was kind of like the thing for me. It's like I got to find someone, and I did. So
I want to bring it all back a little bit to make it more digestible for the person that's sitting here right now going, I want to buy. I have no idea how to buy, and looking for like the first launching off point. So it became an obsession about houses and investing through the people that you were surrounding yourself with, as well as Bigger Pockets, getting more information. Deeper you got in the forums, the more you're like, I want to be doing what that guy's doing. And then it became an independent journey of research, going to the lender, going out, going, oh, here's one objection. Let's get over that wall. Here's the next objection. Let's break through that wall. It wasn't Tyler saying, come on, buddy, brick wall, smash you through it. It actually was you going out to the lender. Like Tyler probably just learned for the first time that FHA co-signer, if you have to go single family. And he was the agent on the deal because Trent embodied something that the people who do transact all have one common trait, and that is that they are hungry to close the deal. It is not the agent's responsibility to get you to the finish line. It's our responsibility to get you to the finish line with a discernible inspection process and a smooth appraisal process.
One piece.
To get you there in one piece.
Peace of mind.
And to get you an investment that you can do what you did. So you were 19 at the time?
Just turned 20, I think.
Just turned 20. Just turned 20, working as a barback / manager at a golf range, essentially.
Still in college, by the way.
Range.
Which
Still
was also crazy. Probably should have done that.
I remember thinking, I want to give a little bit of agent perspective as it relates to people. I remember that seeing your pre-approval, which was like 130,000 or something.
You're like,
it was like
kick rocks.
I literally was like, I would
didn't,
give
though.
him a 5% chance of closing, but maybe in 5 years he'll come back to me and actually close on like a Brownsburg house in 250. Right. But his eagerness and what he did, he showed that he was doing the work.
Right.
Even if he was doing he hired the wrong mortgage lender, was looking in a tiny pocket that had 2 homes for sale that were both distressed. So he showed that like he was willing to put in the work and put himself out there. And you were also open to evolving. Like you switched from the duplex to the single family home. You opened up to other parts. We started looking in that international marketplace neighborhood. What's the name of that? Eagledale.
Eagledale, yeah.
And then we're like, this is not, you don't want to be surrounded by, all this like crazy stuff happening in this neighborhood. So ended up like expanding outwards and figuring out Riverside was actually your real target. And I think you kind of retargeted towards Riverside.
I did, yeah.
So you iterated along the way, which I appreciated, even though, when we were looking, there was literally on our search, like at one time, 3 homes that actually were like livable.
Yep. That's where we're going to see them, right? That's the showings that we're booking.
It was
Another
obvious.
choice. The adaptability of a first-time home buyer is huge because you don't get your dream home. You get the home that provides you solace. It provides you a place to lay your head so that you can grow with the home, right? And why do we not rent? Well, it's to own our own space. And it's to grow. For you, why did not rent? Well, you didn't want to pay the landlord. You want to be the landlord. You want to be the guy that was becoming, unlocking the ability to build wealth, which is everybody in our network that wants to house hack. And they all just have that one trait that they are able to go run through every brick wall and be that like flexible, adaptable person. I think that's like the misconception in house hackers. The people that don't get to the finish line are the ones that call me and they have the same exact problems that you do. They've got 10, 15K and they're like, I don't want to go rent somewhere and I need out of mom and dad's bedroom or mom and dad's bedroom, mom and dad's basement.
Hopefully not their bedroom.
Right. And to get there, they have to do some work, right? You're buying a house. It's not a Olive Cart service. I think is the biggest sentiment that I'd love people to hear.
Yeah. And this is what I think is the great tragedy, I think, in our space and in many entrepreneurial spaces, just in general, is that a lot of people have this assumption that things will just happen for them and that they're easy. You can go watch a YouTube video. You can go watch a house hacking YouTube video and someone will break down the whole process for you in 5 minutes and you'll leave out of there so galvanized and ready to go. You're like, oh, this is great. Like, let me just go do this. What people need to understand is that you are making a big decision and you have to be the principal decision maker. When you're like, you have
the
to
full
be the
liability.
100%.
Water heater breaks, it's on you.
It's on you.
Main line, water line breaks, it's on you.
100%. So you have to get in the weeds.
Understanding what that cost looks like.
Well, and I think the one thing that separates you from many others that didn't get that first deal done that are still renting, because I know many of them, there's dozens of friends even that know I'm real estate, is you got in the car with the people who were drivers, as in like you knew some IndyCar drivers, people that had done wholesales, flips, apartments, and you approached them and they were willing to help. They were like, yo, you want to learn how to do this? I'll help you. In Indianapolis, you can actually do that because we're the most relationally accessible city in the 100%. Nation. In some cities you can't, but also with me, you had enough trust to know, okay, I'm not going to be sold a property first showing. Like I can actually have a conversation with this guy, leverage some of his experience because I house hacked with veterans as well. And that ebb and flow of the conversation, it's the ones that actually do that with us that end up buying 10 versus the ones that sit on the sideline because they're closed in and they're isolating themselves and they only have this much knowledge in Acorn, which is their own because they're not opening themselves up.
Yeah, and we need to stick on that for a second because what you just said is very powerful, and that was a big piece of my story. So I think what I got in the habit of doing was I became that guy that went and watched the YouTube videos and thought that I knew everything. And that's probably part of the reason why I didn't go to a real estate agent first. I was actually planning on doing something similar to what I think you did with you bought your first house by you, right? Yep. You're like, let me just go do it.
Well, star,
yeah. And
Chase
so
Bank and Meridian Title Company, baby. No home inspection, no appraisal either. It's kind of crazy.
Louise.
Chase Bank.
That's crazy.
For them.
But anyways, I became that person that thought by digesting the material that I found on Bigger Pockets and YouTube, I could do everything myself. And I quickly learned that that was not going to be the case. And the reason I said I want to stick on that topic for a second is because, like you mentioned, I was working at Back Nine at the time. And I didn't start working at Back Nine because I enjoyed golfing. I had never swung a golf club before I started working at Back Nine. I didn't really even want to work in Indy, frankly. I lived on the west side still. I probably could have gotten a job closer to home. The reason that I got that job is because I knew that I needed to meet someone in the space who was much better at doing what I wanted to do than I was. And so I told myself, I said, what's the best way I can do that? Well, I think a lot of rich people like to golf. I'm sure some of those rich people probably own a lot of real estate. And if I can get behind a bar and overhear conversations, maybe I can find myself in one of those conversations and meet someone and make a friendship. And that's exactly what happened. I remember being behind the bar one day, cleaning a little glass, polishing a little glass, whatever. And two mentors I still have to this day came and sat down at the bar, and I overheard one of them talking about a flip that he was doing in Fountain Square. And he was talking about doing a carriage house and this and that. I didn't know what any of that meant at the time. But I literally just budged. I went straight into the conversation. I'm like, hey, like I've been trying to wholesale a deal in Fountain Square for like a year now. Like, can I listen on your conversation? Like, I'm super interested in this. And they were more than happy to talk to me, and they were excited that I wanted to listen. And so that was like that. It was like that moment. I'm like, holy crap, it worked. I met somebody. And from that day, I learned the power of being in rooms with like-minded individuals that you strive to be more like. That is extremely powerful. And it took me doing it to really learn that lesson. But that's why I love like when you said that, because that resonates with me. I did that. So.
Well, I think if you put one person in a room with 10 people that own more than 2 doors, that person inevitably, like within 6 months, will own a house. Like put a renter in a room with 2 people that, or 10 people that have a portfolio. Yep. There's no doubt in my mind, which kind of is like what happened because you became obsessed with the shiny object, but then actually putting like some tactful nature to, okay, I'm going to go pursue a relationship. I've said it on this podcast and I'll continue to say it until I'm in my grave. The greatest wealth that you can have, especially in this city, is to go have coffee with somebody tomorrow morning, ask them who they should have coffee with next, go have coffee on Thursday, on Friday, on Saturday, and have 10 coffees a week. And the wealth of knowledge that'll pour out from that. Doubles a college degree.
That's the first step. Like, of my 3 steps to building to $1 million net worth before you're 30, which I'm coining for everyone here, is 1, networking tree. Do 50 coffee meetings. At the end of every coffee meeting, ask who else do you know that I should meet. 2, house hack. Buy your primary residence. Do it 2-3 times if you can before you're married and have kids, or after. And then 3 is learn how to leverage other people's money, and you will. That's my story, right? That's how I've gotten to $1 million net worth. Similar for you.
And how you get connected to Tyler to go on that journey is step number 1, you book a call. Step number 2, you come to an event. And step number 3, you call him back with a freaking pre-approval and you go buy the
You follow up. Yeah. You got to just stay. Half the battle is staying in the game and not giving up and making relationships that keep you motivated to stay in the game. Because you can't do this alone, right? It can't be just, we say, it can't be just numbers, spreadsheets, and random listings that you're just not going to have the juice. You mentioned something, which was you were trying, don't worry, I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole of wholesaling, but you mentioned that you're trying to wholesale. I do want your perspective now as a real estate agent, a young 22-year-old real estate agent who is having a good amount of success in a tough market, in a very low transaction count market. What is the difference in your brain? What are the key differences between being a wholesaler and trying to because you see all these armies of people trying to wholesale to break in. It's like stop number 1 on the train. Like, I want to get into real estate. Oh, I'll wholesale.
Had an intro call on Monday. Hey, I'm moving to Indy. I want to start wholesaling before I get there in October. I said, that's great. Don't want to discourage you. I have nothing for you.
Yeah.
I have absolutely nothing for you.
We believe in building equity.
But when you get here in October, when you arrive here in October or whenever, come to our next event.
Yeah.
That's what I can provide.
Yeah. So where I'm going with that, I want your perspective on being an agent versus wholesaling, key differences, and are you happy with your path going down the real estate agent route?
Yeah. I'll answer the first question first. The reason wholesaling is so popular is because it's the lowest barrier to entry into our space, right? You don't need a cent to get into wholesaling. You can go knock on doors and find someone that wants to sell their house for less than it's worth tomorrow if you want to, and you spend enough time doing it. And so I don't think that that's a bad idea per se for some people. If you're super interested in that and you like the idea of really getting in the dirt and looking at lots of deals and analyzing lots of deals, and that's just the way that your brain works, and you're good with talking with people, and you're solutions oriented and you like helping people find solutions when they're in difficult times, which is pretty much what that space is all about. I don't think that there's merit in totally writing that off. Like, I think that there's value in that. Maybe not to the extent that people draw it up to be, but there's certainly value in that. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I'm not traditionally wired that way. And I think I quickly found that out when I tried doing that. I like making an impact with people who I can create true relationships with. And I think that's what being a real estate agent allows me to do a little bit better than maybe, how wholesaling would have allowed me to accomplish that goal, if that makes sense. I think it becomes a little bit more transactional, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
It does. And we had Evan Manship on here, and he defined wholesaling as the pawn shop. And he said the pawn shop's dirty. But the pawn shop,
I'm not going to meet my best friend at the pawn shop.
Right. No, I'm going to the pawn shop because I'm in dire need.
And we're like the steakhouse. Right. You go to the pawn shop, or you go Roots Realty agents. We're like going to the steakhouse.
Yeah. We're like the cruise ship.
Yeah, we're the cruise ship.
Jump on board and we'll take care of you.
Right. Yeah. I go with analogy, but I'll just leave it.
Right.
I'll drop it.
But I want to go from this house on Mansfield that you bought and compare it to if you would have gone down wholesaling.
Yeah.
So in that first home, what month did you close on that in 2023, right?
June or July.
Yeah. Okay. So June or July. Yeah. In September, you call me and you had something to wholesale. You called me with a deal to wholesale. You said, I need you to help me run comps on this. How much can I sell it for? And do I have to do anything to it? And I got on there and I was like, Trent, I don't know if this is a house like anymore. And you're like, I'm standing in front of it. It's a structure. I can sell it. And like, I feel like the number was under 20,000 that you could have gotten this house for. And I could be wildly wrong, but it was like, I was like, you'd be better off getting dirt at this rate. That you can't sell that
like it's a
to anybody.
It might be negative
to have it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's going to be
things got a demo order on it. And everything. Yeah,
it 100% was going to be. And so he calls me on like a Monday. I kind of throw him off. On a Tuesday, he calls me back and he's like, "No, seriously, I want to buy these. Can we buy these together and flip them at your wholesale?" I'm like, just go get your real estate license. What are you doing? I'm like, this deal is not it. It's not what you want to do. I think you did end up putting an offer in and lost because of how bad the deal was.
A month later, you were in your class.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah,
you were like, all right, I'm going to go get a real estate license.
Half the people that I meet that are like trying to, one day they want to be an apartment owner, they want to be the flip, killer, whatnot, and they're trying to do this crap. They're trying to resell homes on Zillow, and I say, dude, you just go get your license and be an agent. If I can tell they want to bring value to people authentically, they're enrolled the next week. That's why we have way too many real estate agents in our market.
But that was the phone call, right? The phone call wasn't, "Max, I want you to buy this dilapidated house with me." It was like, "Hey, I know I saw you at Back 9 a month ago after closing on this house with Tyler," because Tyler was like, "Hey, had this first time home buyer. I think he was, really cool, really led the journey himself. I want you to come meet him." I like pulled up to Back 9 and we golfed together with your friend, with your mentors that you had met there. Mm-hmm. And a couple of months go by and you call me saying, "I remember you saying you want to flip. Here's this." And I think I might have been the only person on that list of like potential that could buy the house from you in the wholesale scenario.
Wholesale list.
Which was admirable, right? And like the value that he was pitching, something came over me that said, this guy should just be a real estate agent. And I just said it. And then you did. You took action and just showed up on our team like by January, and now building block of the business. It's crazy.
There's an important thing there that I want to hit on a little bit further, which is in our space, and once again, I'll use the entrepreneurial space as a whole. It is very hard to fake it in what we do. And you will get exposed quickly if you don't know what you're talking about. And so I think that shows itself to be true in the wholesaling space. So for example, you talk to guys like Evan, or maybe you'll talk to Ben someday, or some of these other big wholesalers, whatever. Yeah. They do what they do at a very high level, and they're able to provide a lot of value because of it, and because of the amount of value that they're able to provide to the number of people that they're able to provide that value to, they make a killing doing what they do. there's no in between. Frankly,
Yeah.
I'm just going to be honest. There's no in between. You either crush it or you don't, and you can't
slightly
fake it.
push back. I don't think they know that much about their actual properties they're selling.
Yeah,
I think they know a modicum. I think they know a whole lot about operational success
their system.
in lead generation,
100%.
and now hiring and firing people. They do know that shit pretty well about. Hey, are the utilities on at this property? Don't even ask.
No,
they don't know.
Yeah, they don't know the address.
They don't, because
But
that's not the $1 million answers they need to provide.
Right.
It's how do you keep a guy cold calling on your team for
Here's
6 months?
here's the question I go back to you, who was like, hey, I want to go wholesale and I want to go do this. How are you going to compete with a behemoth of that caliber?
Right.
And them
You're not.
already have reached them, right? Ben's already talked to him.
Ben's talked to him 4 times. by the
Evan's
time
already
you
talked
got
to
to
him.
In fact, they
Yeah.
should just, if they really, really want to, they should just go work for him or work for an entity like a real estate developer or Roots Realty. We've had positions open. A guy that wants to get some real estate is going to be our admin, right? Like work for one of them until you have the
we still have
runway
intern Paul. Shout out
after
Paul.
you house hack to get that first investment. But the runway in real estate, we could have a whole podcast about how to get runway in real estate. It's
Right. Especially how to become an
a million
agent.
different ways.
How to become an agent, how to make money. I want to go back to that first house though to talk about wealth, which is a much deeper rooted conversation and really break down the wealth. And one, that house hack that was kind of an accidental, right? Not really. 10K in the checking account is what you said. I have no idea how I'm going to pay this mortgage next month. So I have to identify a tenant before closing. You also mentioned some repairs there. We don't have to get into like crazy.
It was a piece of crap.
Yeah,
it was
pretty-
$125,000 property.
Like it didn't have central air. You learned what central air was. When I met you, I had to explain to you what the different type of heat sources could be in a house.
Yeah.
I remember. And I was like, who is your agent? And you're like, Tyler, that's how I met you. I'm
Well,
like, "Gosh, this guy.
even worse.
It was a $100,000 house.
I remember walking the house with you, and you pointed out the furnace in the basement, saying something to the effect of like, "This looks pretty old. I would plan on replacing this at some point." I didn't know what a furnace was. I didn't know that that's the component that helped keep my house warm in the winter. So that's where that was the level I was at that
Right.
time.
It's not that it wasn't there. You
that's
did your
just a
job.
Yeah, no,
20-year-old
you did your job very well.
He just had no idea.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Well, yeah, and in hindsight, you probably would have negotiated right. And this is even I'm probably on year 2 of being an agent. So by the way, I probably would have handled it differently now
Right.
than I did back then, and you would have too. And we possibly would have walked away from the deal. Frankly, maybe not, but we would have tried harder. We did get 7,000 in concessions or something
no,
crazy.
The point
but
there
it
was
needed
the guy.
a new roof. Like it could have been much more.
Yeah.
The
And
point
the
there
seller was actually very stubborn. He walked
I
away
remember
from
you
my first
telling me
offer.
that. Yeah.
He was like one of those guys that would let it sit.
That's wild.
He was an old different home, but like, Gugman House, new groups coming in, all these developments. I need this price, or I'm not going to sell it.
right.
Kick rocks.
And the more important part there was like when I started to dig back the layers of this house, because very quickly after you become an agent, you're like, should I go out? You like got your first commission check and you're like, I'm going to put it in the house. And I was like, why?
I already had.
Yeah,
by the way,
right.
I had
You
already
basically had
spent
already
the
done
money.
it.
Yeah, I was kind of asking for forgiveness after.
Right.
But
And
anyways,
you're like,
keep going.
so what do I do? What do I do with this? Like, how do I build that value here? And you're like, I need to replace the furnace. Should I go this direction? Should I do this? And actually he kept saying heat pump to me. I'm like, what are you talking about? A heat? There's no way there's a heat pump in this tiny little house. It is there has to be an HVAC and a furnace and a condenser. And he's like pointing to the thing outside, which was a condenser. And he knows that now. But at the time I was like trying to help coach through how to make this house what it was and what we just sold, which is a property that was turnkey ready that could rent out for $1,900 a month. Is that what we ended up renting it out for?
No, well, when like just recently?
Yeah.
No, it was like 2,000.
Like 2,000 a
That's
month.
crazy. Yeah.
And it's a house that you bought in 2023 for how much? 115?
120.
120.
120.
Put some value add along the way, call it 30, 35,000 along the way to fix it up for an asset that could rent for $2,000. They sold for 175.
Yes.
Crazy.
Yeah.
2 years.
And I know you're about to say something. I think the biggest regret you'll have is selling it.
Oh, he
in
knows
10
that.
years.
He already knows
And
that.
you
Yeah.
know that. And
Yeah.
we've talked about that thousands of times.
Yeah.
But I will.
But listen, here's why I don't regret buying that house. It's for 2 reasons. Number one, that house became a great store of value. Because what I noticed as a young individual, even now, is like the second money hits your account, your mind starts thinking about ways to spend it, whether or not it's through good ways like investing or saving and or giving or whatever, or spending it on things that just don't matter.
Blackjack table, roulette,
right? Things like that, which are very fun. Your mind immediately goes to, where do I need to move this money? Maybe is a better way to say it. And so what that house did was, number one, it forced me to make renovations because I was living in it. So spending the money on the bathroom, the kitchen, the roof, the HVAC, it was like I needed to do that stuff.
You were paying for your education. Keep going.
Yeah. So anyways, it became a very good store of value because what I knew is that every penny I put into that house, because of the area I bought it in and the kind of renovations that I was doing, my money was going to sit there and it was going to appreciate and I wasn't going to lose it.
Right.
And as a young individual, that is extremely powerful.
Yep.
So that was the first thing that it did for me. The second thing is that it taught me the roadmap. I did the thing, right? Like I'm going back to what I said when we started this podcast. I was able to learn and do it in a way that wasn't going to completely annihilate the rest of my life, right? Like I didn't lose my pants on the deal, which is great, and it allowed me to get my hands on the project and do it myself.
All three of us did everything the same, which is we bought a house with no reserves, no plan. We just bought the house, and then we figured it out. I have a client right now. He's going through the same thing. Bought the duplex. It's a 100-year-old duplex. We had plenty of conversations to coach him up on that. He's not calling me saying, why'd you let me buy this house? He's calling me saying, I'm not sure what to do here because I normally would just call the 1-800 line and the landlord would be there to fix it. I have a sewer issue. What do I do? And because I kept catching myself going, well, you have a sewer issue because we got the electrical, or we got this fixed during the answer. Because I was feeling bad some type of way. I'm like, we got this stuff fixed and we negotiated. He's like, I know that. I don't know where to go and if I should be adding money. And he's like, I didn't really have that piggy bank built to go in. Neither did any of us. We all just went buck wild.
Yeah.
When I moved in and laid my head on my pillow for the first time in my first home, I had like $500 left after it. $500. I had over 30 grand walking in, but I spent it all on renovating it.
Yeah.
The mortgage was 900 and it was due in 2 weeks, right? What happens? You go figure it out and you make it happen. Yep. And by figuring out and making it happen, I walked away with a 6-figure gain on that home in 3 years.
Yeah.
That's the power and the wealth and just getting started and running through the brick wall.
Right. And I think there's two, if I can underscore this for the audience, there's two big, you buy the house, you have no money. There's two big things you gain in a non-monetary way. One of which is an ownership mentality. You just said it. When you replace the furnace, you're like, that's a large chunk of money. But this is your infrastructure, your asset. All of this is hopefully increasing the store value. I love that phrase. And the second is long-term wealth. Anyone who's getting in this has stopped the 1 month, 6 month, 1 year cycle. Like I have a cousin, he's not going to listen to this. Don't worry. He can't get off seeing finances in 1 month so it makes sense. His rent payment at $1,800 because he can still like have some margin, save.
Yeah, he's like, I make $3,600 and the car is $4,000 and the rent's $18,000 and
that rent is going to go from $1,800 to $2,000 to $2,500.
Yep.
And you're not going to it's a
keep
treadmill forever.
Yep.
I was like, I have all these investments and that payment is a lot. I have, I don't know, $10,000 of mortgages a month I have to pay. It kind of sucks actually.
Right.
Month to month doesn't look pretty. But I look in 30 years where that's going to be versus you renting. It's the store of wealth and value over
you turn it on its
time.
head.
Right.
Yeah.
It's complete upside down, right? Flip the cone on its head.
In a percentage of that, I love to calculate how much is actually going to the principal. Okay, it's less than I always want it to be.
Way less.
But it's still like, let's just say out of the 10,000, 1,000 of it. It's about 1/10 that actually, now some of these are early mortgages and they'll become 9/10 towards
I have some that it's like $99 a month going to the principal.
Yeah, I have one that's $100 a month. But it's still, that will be significant over a long enough time horizon and at such a scale.
Right.
Right. And we've talked about this with Jeremy. Let's just say you sell one of your investment properties, you put $100K down and recast it into a 20-year or a 15-year mortgage. Now you're paying a lot more in principal.
Yep.
So there's ways to, you say this a lot, there's ways to stack equity and roll equity. It gets complicated even for me to theorize and see it all. It's hazy. It's like I'm just taking it one day at a time right now with investing myself. But it's where I'm going to is you inherit an ownership mentality, which is huge. I'm not calling the boss the tenant or not the landlord anymore.
And it's
I'm
empowering, by the way. It's another very important.
Yeah. And then the long-term mindset of I'm going to have assets that work for me when I'm sleeping mentality.
The great news about it, though, is that we're all better landlords of our properties because we were the landlord in our properties, if that makes sense, right? The first property we lived in, we took care of. We were the ones calling the 1-800 number, and guess who was answering? Me, right?
Your phone was buzzing.
Yeah, my phone was buzzing. I was calling, and I had to go replace the thing and get creative and actually get preventative and start replacing things that had foresight that I could see coming ahead. Guess what I do on all my properties now? I hire off-lease construction to do PMR reports. Every biannually, they come in, clean out the gutters, change the furnace filters, take the pictures of how the tenants are treating the place, and I get to make a decision as a property owner how I want to be preventative in my maintenance. And they'll give suggestions. Best $400 you can ever spend on your asset is that right there, the quarterly PMR. I would not know that if I didn't live in the first one, right? And didn't have the freaking roof start leaking and everything in between. I want to switch gears and start stacking on the true equity in relationships. You hinted at it a little bit earlier. I think it's valuable, something that's driven your life and kind of helped you get to where you are at a young age, which, like Tyler at the beginning said, 40 deals closed in the past year and a half, 40 transactions. There are agents who won't even eclipse that. They'll leave the business before they get to that rate.
The average agent has done 2 deals this year.
Yeah. I mean, to be in the top 5%, you had to sell 8 homes last year. So just for reference for everybody listening.
Everyone on our team is.
I want
5%.
Right. I want to think of how that scale unlocks through the relational equity that you've been able to build. What is, for somebody listening who is Trent a few years ago, what's the number one habit that they can implement in their life to start stacking towards just to get better? I don't even know if 2 years ago you knew that you'd be like where you're at today. I don't even know if you want to be a realtor. To be honest, I still question that every week. I'm like, did this guy want to be an agent? I think he wanted to be in real estate. I don't know if he wanted to be an agent.
Yeah. So what's the number one habit? Was that the question?
I think. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I could take that in so many different directions. Here's the thing. As a young individual growing up, I remember being in middle school and high school, being a procrastinator through and through. You couldn't get me to do anything regarding school. I mean, literally, I remember showing up before school. The only reason I would get to school early is because I wanted to have enough time to go to the library to copy the homework from someone else in my class before we had to get to first period. That's why I showed up early to school. And what I learned through adulting and learning and becoming the human being that I am today is that wasn't because I'm a lazy person.
Yeah, how did the negotiation look like to get that person to the library?
Right. No, yeah. But it wasn't because I was a lazy person. It's because I had absolutely no desire or I don't know what the word I'm looking for. I had no interest in anything that I was doing at that time. And so the biggest lesson for me is that it was less about like changing something in my mind or changing a specific system or process in my life. It was about finding something that I was truly passionate about, because when I unlocked that, it became easier to want to go do it every day and wake up early to go do it every day. And so once you have found the thing that you genuinely say to yourself, like, I love doing this and I want to go get as good at it as I possibly can, it becomes that much easier to implement the systems and the processes. So then you find out how to use a calendar. Then you start time blocking.
Having a why. And having a mission, really, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, which is still something I'm crafting every day, right? Like I plan on doing that for the rest of my life.
You usually don't know how to verbalize it. You experience it and then verbalize it later.
Right. You arrive at it.
Right. You arrive at it.
Every time that something changes for me, it's because I went through something hard and then went to the people in my life. Alex Montagno was on here. He talked about the 5 boards, his episodes down below, but people being a board of advisors, going to them. You have a major thing happen in your life, you call up 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you see how they react to it, and you get their judgments and their tidbits, and then you can grow from there. I just came from a coaching session from a strategic coach that I pay in my life to help me discover there. And guess what? I feel like I just unlocked a new level coming out of a really hard 2 months. And it takes, like what you're saying, the vulnerability to be curious. I think it's like a way to frame it up
Mm-hmm.
and to know the why and to not forget your mission.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is the habits become a side effect, right? I am interested in what I am doing, and so because of that, I find it's normal for me to be involved sending deals to clients because I want to see them win, and I'm super excited about doing that. So the act of sending deals and making time to interact with clients becomes a habit, but that's a side effect of me genuinely enjoying and being excited about what I'm doing. And that doesn't, I'm not saying you shouldn't be intentional about, the system and the way in which you do things. Obviously you should, but those things start to come naturally is what I'm trying to say.
And what I love is the full circle here. This really just connects to you were crafted and birthed in, I'm struggling with words here.
Mission.
A creator created you for a purpose. And when you find that purpose that you're meant to do and have the impact with other people, it becomes easier to click the habits in place. But when you're just like homework for a grade on a class that doesn't matter, why would you try? Right. But when it's your God-given purpose to get elevate others, it clicks into place. It's the same thing for even this podcast. Why would I show up and be fired up about this? It's because I actually think there's one person that's going to go on Bigger Pockets tonight and start researching things and make a call to one of us because of this podcast, right?
And it'll cause that ripple effect. You hit the nail on the head though. Like you go back to high school, and who are the people that were actually engaging? It's people that wanted to be doctors. It's people that wanted to go somewhere that they had to get a higher education to do the trade and skill that they want to do, right? I knew I wasn't going to be a surgeon, so why do I give a shit, right? I knew I wanted to do something in business, and what am I going to do? I'm going to start selling crap like while I'm at school and make relationships and play that game. I think we would do a disservice if we didn't talk about, you said something so insightful in the beginning. I had to identify the tenant while I was under contract for my first house to make it. You and I have found and unlocked the ability to find tenants while under contract, to make a cash on cash return for investors that, quite frankly, is pretty difficult to find. Indianapolis is like number 2 right now for the most desirable market or whatever the stat is on Zillow, or Redfin, whoever gave it. But we are at a cool place where I'm now I had somebody combative yesterday on an intro call, talk to the guy. I'm like, hey, what are you looking for? He's like, cash on cash return. I about said appreciation. He said, I don't care about appreciation. And I said, well, you can't ignore appreciation. He goes, I know, but I own property and I know that they're going to appreciate in value. And I know where Indy's headed. That's why I'm calling you. I want to know if I can hit a rate of return. And I go, that's a much more mature and way to frame it up. And I go, in fact, maybe highlight on the, like, what we see every day and some of the duplexes that we've sold recently, in that light of the tenant first in a sense.
Yeah. So what I think you and I both have found is that being able to not only provide a client with an asset that is what we would consider to be turnkey, ready to go, first day you buy it, it's even cooler when you can provide someone with a turnkey house that also has great paying tenants in it day one, because they completely are able to negate any sort of baked in vacancy into their spreadsheet year one. And a property manager is able to get in there and do what they do best and manage tenants effectively. And that takes a lot of the pressure off of a newer investor. And so Max and I think, have found a lot of value in doing that for our clients. To sort of talk a little bit more about the first point you made, I think a lot of people are naturally they get very focused on that cash on cash year one number, right? Like that's what everyone's concerned about.
Because it's hard to see the ethereal growth, the equity stack. Like Tyler said, he even has I start going on and it just becomes a law.
It's a comforting factor, I think, too, seeing a 7% cash on cash. It gives you comfort, like it's going to have grease on the wheels. The reality is,
even if a firm,
I want to know how many people actually go and recalculate it once they own it.
Yeah.
They're not. They're thinking about monthly cash flow burn. They're thinking about their liquidity on hand. They're thinking about other things. They're not even calculating it.
Well, they go to the 5 profit centers at that rate.
Yeah, correct. Right. And then it's like, what can I get out of this if I refinance or sell it? Like those are the things that matter.
How do I unlock it?
It's funny how little correlation or reflecting back on that original cash on cash there is.
Yeah.
You know, as an aside. But
yeah, which is okay. That used to kind of frustrate me a little bit, but I have a better frame of reference now to understand why that's what people's minds go to as the first sort of benchmark, if you will. Anyways, I say all of that to say there's only really one solution there or I shouldn't say one solution. There's a couple of solutions. There's one that I really like and others that I don't like. So you have to find a way to inflate rents. And I think you do that through a couple of different ways. Number one, you can utilize a different strategy. So you can go buy an Airbnb and do a short-term rental. You can go, do a midterm rental and get traveling nurses, and you can bump up rates that way. What I tell clients all the time is that unless you consider yourself to be an expert in that field, for the love of God, don't do it.
It's hospitality.
It's hospitality. You are no longer operating a rental. You are now operating every house as its own business.
Investment.
It's not passive.
If you don't want to be the bellhop, the front desk person, the freaking remote control battery expert on what goes where, don't do it.
The password provider.
The one caveat I will, and I know you haven't finished your full thing, is if the property is cash flowing at a certain clip and you can afford to have someone operating it who is the bellhop, operator, touch, hands-on person, then that could still work. But you're probably buying a more expensive asset, such as my $1.5 million lake house. That's where it makes sense. Anyways.
And it has other things in it to provide the value. Because I know what you're saying. There is a special client, a special property, and a special manager. But they're special and they want to go in that direction. I've got one right now. He crushes. He does $100K top line a year on a property that he bought for $350,000 in Bates Hendricks. But guess what? The manager is the literal expert in that space in Indy, and it was a rare buy.
So once again, I want to make this point. You cannot fake it in our industry.
No,
it's the same thing in that space. In my opinion, at least in our market, is starting to get a little bit saturated because people saw the returns on paper that they thought they could make, and so they went and purchased properties that maybe they shouldn't have in areas that maybe don't actually do as well as they would anticipate, or they didn't hire the right manager, or they bought the wrong furniture and they didn't actually use a theme and make it look cute so people don't want to actually stay there. Whatever the case may be, we could talk about it all day long. You cannot fake it. And so if you are an expert in that field, cool, go do it. You'll crush. You have a competitive advantage. Go do it, right? I know it's something that you're kind of passionate about. You like helping clients do that. But anyways, I still have that to say. I don't think that is the right solution for a lot of people. What I have been helping people do a lot is subsidized housing. And whether that is through some of the big non-for-profits that operate in our city or through Section 8, we help people place those tenants. Sometimes our sellers, if they are savvy enough, will do that for those people and offer that as sort of a piece of the purchase agreement to make it a little bit more enticing for someone maybe to pay them the number that they want. But that's the way that you inflate rents. So for example, I can count, on, one hand, I've probably done, 3, 4, 5 Section 8 deals just this year where literally buyers will end up with a 15 to 20% cash on cash day one. Out off the rip, which is insane. You can't get that through any other vehicle, to my knowledge, in terms of a longer term hold, other than doing something like that.
We are closing on these at a clip of every other week on these types of properties where they're turnkey. And sometimes you buff up rents too by just providing a higher level of finish than the guy next door in a C plus neighborhood. So you go compete. You look at my portfolio. That's what I do. I crush everybody. I know I have the highest rents in the neighborhood, but guess what? I have the best product and I'm the best manager in the neighborhood. And so I get the cash on cash return. And so it's that vehicle, right? You go to subsidize or you go to provide an excellent service. The other thing that I found though is through, maybe we're about to say this. We've handed people 15% cash on cash properties. Now it depends on how they use the weapon. Because if you don't pick it up and fire it correctly, it's going to backfire.
There's a big caution label on it.
Right. It's hey, this is juicy, but it's hot. Right? It might bite. And what I mean by that is hire the professional manager to get in there before you close and get it off the ground.
Right.
Because these tenants cannot go without somebody facing.
Right.
If they have somebody going along the journey with them, it's excellent. The ones that I'm thinking in my head that have, they're killing it, absolutely murdering the deals. And the ones that haven't, I'm I question sometimes, should we have sold that to them? were the tenants bad? Were this bad? Why did it work over here, but it didn't work over here? Yep. And that's the one thing that Roots doesn't provide. But what we do provide is people and professionals who can do it that are great in that arena. And it's something that you and I are pretty passionate about, that we've been able to we're still working on it, still solving it. But I know we have probably 10 deals in inventory right now that all would be, maybe not quite 20%, but definitely over 12.
And I'm using that as an example. It's just kind of on the high end, but
yeah. And people who want these deals need to go to rootsreal.co, get on our deal blast, because I know people are sitting on Zillow, spinning their wheels,
right?
Thinking, is this a good deal or not? Get on our deal sheet. You do a write up. I just sent it out to 2,000 people this morning.
You can sign up to the newsletter in the link below. It's the top link. Before you even subscribe, I want you to be on the newsletter before you subscribe to this YouTube channel.
Yeah.
The newsletter is the most powerful thing that we do. Tyler writes up beautiful things about Indianapolis. So you need to know if you're going to own here. And if you already own here and you don't know
these deals
about
that we're talking about that have the juicy cash and cash,
they're on the newsletter.
They're waiting there. And then someone's going to be like, why can't I get that? People ask more when I do sometimes on the newsletter, I show the success stories. Hey, this person bought this and they did that. I was like,
can I get that?
Why can't I get that? They respond to it and they click on the Zillow link, me showing what just sold. I'm like, that went out 2 newsletters ago.
Mm-hmm. 2 newsletters ago.
Had your head stuck too far up your butt.
And guess what? It also was live on the market.
Yeah.
With all the same ancillary things.
Right. But here's the thing. We talk about these kinds of deals like they're commonplace. We provide a great service to our clients in hosting a lot of those deals off market. And what people don't understand is you can go, you go on the MLS and you can find yourself a duplex that you can throw some Section 8 tenants in. Absolutely, we can do that. But we're talking about providing a turnkey house with tenants in them already that are paying day one. That is not, you don't just go on Zillow and have, 15, 20 of those deals you can just pick from.
You do, but there are people exiting the marketplace for a bunch of reasons, right? So people, the one-off owners that still have a tenant that didn't hire the manager that are struggling from history, and it's a $160,000 single family that's rented for $900, right?
That's what I'm saying.
It's
that's precisely what I'm saying. Yeah.
We've been able
end
to
up
go
in the situation that we've talked about.
Yeah.
You can't just
3916, I think it is, Market Street, 39 something Market Street is on the market right now. It's a quad. Essentially rents for $4,000 a month. We have it listed at $350. Mm-hmm. Come on. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Billion people are going to scroll over that. Let's wrap up with our rapid fire questions.
Let's do it. Friday night, I know you don't have a significant other yet. With the boys, what's a good place to grab the most delicious bite to eat in Indy?
I really like Livery. Livery is a great spot. The empanadas are great. The cocktails
I was about to ask,
awesome.
What's your favorite thing on the menu?
Yeah.
You would say empanadas?
The empanadas are great. Yeah, they have they have a red drum, which they are super popular. Their red drum fish dish, whatever. That's super popular too.
Yeah. I would say it is the best best margaritas in Indy. Does go to Livery. Condado, it's trash. It's pre-made. Sorry.
Livery is a totally different level. Yeah.
So you got to go hit up Livery.
Livery.
You got to ask for the Trent special. They'll look at you funny because they have no idea what Trent is. What's the number one habit that changed your life?
Being in God's word.
Yeah. In what way? How has that expanded in the past 6 months?
Yeah. It's given me a better frame of reference of looking at what I do and having a purpose behind what I do.
Yeah.
I think our lane can get very transactional, and when you're able to back up and actually dive into your purpose, like you were referring to earlier, and you're able to use God's word to actually see that a little bit better, it's very enlightening.
I heard something recently that was be in scripture, not out of fear of being around a table with people that know scripture better than you do. Kind of like this thing, right? You take it to a gym. You walk into the gym. You've not hit the gym in years. So you don't even know how much the bar weighs anymore because you've been there for so long. It's 45, by the way, if you're curious. And you're going to lift. But the guy next to you is just freaking, he's jacked, right? He just was doing push-ups in the sauna. That's how jacked he is. Mm-hmm. And now he's lifting 7 of the plates and 3 bars at once because he knows it, because he's been doing it and has the habit of it. It super motivated me to dive back into God's word, because that becomes a challenge, right? You sit around a table and people go pound for pound. They start throwing out these John 7, 5, 3, 4. And I'm can't keep up. I get it, the spiritual journey, but the scripture is huge. So that's something that you, Kyle, Ian, Tyler, everybody on the team, I've watched grow in it. All right, I gotta dust the boy off and open it up. So
Yeah.
It's the
admirable
key that unlocks, right, the vision. I was thinking of this, like, the vision means there's different ways of looking into the world. One way is a transactional lens, which is I didn't get what I want, or I'm just trying to go get mine and get what I want. What was me? And it's a lie from the enemy. It's a lie from the devil, right? And I believe in spiritual warfare. It's biblical. And that's the frame of reference of which I base my truth. But then there's a different vision of which is the word incarnate, which is putting others before yourself, right? Is the way if we are eternal beings. So, and I'm not trying to get on a sermon here, but it's a different vision in which you approach clients and deals and sellers and buyers.
Yeah.
If you believe it's a part of an actual ministry. I don't know a better word to put it. So I think that's awesome. And I've seen that flourish in you. I've seen your joy and happiness increase a lot from where you used to be, frankly. So I see the fruit of that. All right, Pastor Tyler is done talking. Next question. I got to brush up on that. What is an area of your life that you're currently working on growing?
Good question. Several. One for me right now, I think, is my close relationships with my friends and family. I think that those have taken a beating over the last couple of years because of how involved I've been in work and in business. And those people understand that, but that's not an excuse to allow those things to suffer. And so I think creating meaningful time and spaces to build relationships with those people is something I'm definitely trying to work on. The other one that everyone has heard a million times is being more active and getting out there and working out and maybe running a marathon with Tyler or something. That's always
seeds are planted.
Yeah. So
The last time we dug, you said I will never do that.
yeah.
Now you're talking about
Right. Just for the podcast, so people think.
it.
But that's
You can start being Ian's dog and chase the frisbee.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I love that. It sounds like, in one word, I'm going to just name it for you, which is like having priorities and putting guardrails to protect those priorities. Because in a early real estate entrepreneur's career, work, it expands and takes over all the empty areas of your life until there's no areas left. It's all real estate.
Yeah.
And that is not a good area. That is not a good place to be in for a healthy mind, body, spirit. You have to put guardrails on that and protect these other priorities, right? It's like Max and I have talked about every single podcast. When we get home, we put our phone in another room and are present for dinner time and the hour after dinner time. And that's a habit. It doesn't come natural. Like we could easily be on our phone the whole time and worrying about deals.
Yeah.
Easily.
It's the 90-10, right? When your life is truly at balance, which takes a lot of work. And I think putting the right people in place, ironically, bringing more relationships in to help find that balance, it's going to be huge in the life cycle. Dude, thanks for coming on. I know that this is in general probably not your comfort zone, having
No, definitely not. But it's fun though.
Throat. Yeah.
It's good. Yeah, it's good for me to get out of my comfort zone.
We will be certainly having a round two with Trent and getting some of the other agents on our team. Every agent in the team has an amazing story.
Yeah.
And has unique insights to share. And people just need to work with Roots agents.
Yeah. I think Roots agents
are the best.
Totally.
If you have not checked out the new rootsrealty.co website, you are missing out. The thing is beautiful. Tyler did an amazing job. Shout out Jared and all his hard work on that. So go check out rootsrealty.co.
There's properties, off-market properties
coming soon. Properties all over
properties we're selling.
Yep. And you got to get plugged in to the newsletter. And if you could do one thing for us, we don't ask anything else besides this one thing. Please, for the love of God, share this to somebody who is like Trent in your life that you want to go and chase and buy a house with, right? The only way you're going to do it is if you bet with the next guy next to you. So if you're Peter, go call John and say, John, we're going to buy a house by the end of this year. Listen to this podcast. Let's get fired up and go after it and do it. So keep sharing the pod.
Share it. Get on the newsletter, rootsrealty.co, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Peace.
Peace.